We are Gold Ivy.
Our mission is to empower you to own and unleash your truth.
Stories of resiliency are gold, and ivy grows in hard places.
Those hard places are what creates space for light to shine through.
You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production. Welcome back to the Ivy Unleashed podcast. Today, Brooke and I are here with Dr. Danielle, who's in Hawaii. Welcome to Ivy Unleashed.
Hello, thank you. Aloha, I should say.
Yeah, we're so jealous.
Oh, we both love Hawaii.
We do.
So much. And another thing that we love is talking about all different health and wellness modalities. Today, we're going to talk about aromatherapy, which we haven't touched on. I've dabbled in it a little bit myself. I know Andrea has too in her home. So we're going to cover all things aromatherapy. So grab a pen and paper. We're going to talk about what we need in our home, certain conditions, maybe digestive issues, what type of scents Dr. Danielle recommends. We're going to touch so many different areas. Today, I'm so excited.
Yes, and it's not just physical. Like if you have an ailment or something, it's also for your mental health and in a big way. So we're so excited. And Dr. Danielle, we just want to start at the basics. We really like to break this down into like, what is aromatherapy? How does this work? Mm-hmm. Just give us like the basics of one, how you got into this, and then how tangibly people can start to implement it into their homes.
Yeah, for sure. It's so tangible. In fact, I don't know why every home doesn't have it. And that's how passionate I am, which is why I have an entire platform about it. But yeah, I'll share a little bit. So I'm a doctor of psychology and a licensed clinical social worker, really in the mental health field. And what happened for me is, I grew up with a hippie mom. So she was always doing herbs and oils on us as a little, as little kids. And it became in my 20s that I started having some gut health concerns. And I was going to, medical field, and they're just like, we don't know what's going on. It was like I was borderline everything. I was fine, but I wasn't fine. I was crashing really quick after eating. I would get lethargic. I couldn't even think. I'd go look at a menu and I was like, I don't know what to eat. I'm not really sure what to order. Can you just bring me just something so I can put something in me and then I can think again? So I was getting a lot of brain fog. So it was literally causing disrupt in my brain. And from that, my friend kind of reintroduced me as an adult to aromatherapy. And she's like, well, why don't you try this? And I'm like, yeah, but it's probably not going to be I have something major going on. It's not going to be that effective, right? And it shocked me. So I tried this essential oil. It's a digestive oil and it was called Digest Zen. So I started utilizing, I put a drop under my tongue and immediately I had this benefit where my stomach would just calm down. And I was like, oh, well, that's nice. Instead of feeling yucky and bloated, it felt just normal again. And I noticed after doing this for several months, I would say 4 to 6 months, that I used this particular essential oil along with a couple other things, which I will share. It completely cleared up whatever was going on with my gut. And now I understand what was going on. But at the time, I just didn't know. I just knew I didn't feel great. And so that led me to dive into, well, what are these things? And I learned a ton that not all essential oils that are out there in the market are alike, that have actual medicinal properties to them. And so that was really interesting. And so I can dive, down this rabbit hole of what I went through. But that's just how I got started with my whole rabbit hole and ended up doing a dissertation in my in my doctorate on PTSD and aromatherapy as well.
Wow. It's so fascinating because I look at it as just one option that people could use. I think about my whole experience with alternative medicine and dabbling a little bit in it, like I said. And there's is this legit? I don't know. And I know a lot of people feel that way. So after doing your research, your dissertation, what would you say to that person who's like, is this really legit?
Yeah, I would say, try it and see. That's what I would say. And it's not so I grew up using essential oils as well. But honestly, the reason why I didn't think that it would really help what was going on with me is because I did have them and I was using them a little, but they did not have the medicinal benefits. And so learning what that really takes in an essential oil, when you preserve it how it should be in nature, then you will get those benefits. So anyway, that's what's cool is if you just like eating a plant that's grown organically without pesticides, without GMOs, and that's picked at the and harvested at the right time. How much more nutrition? I mean, I just on a tangent here. When I can hardly eat tomatoes that are store. I just they taste so different than a fresh picked tomato.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're talking about here, and the difference of what it will do for your body.
And on a basic level, what does it do on your body? Will you get into that?
So plants, okay, let's just talk about what, like your original question on all of this was, what is aromatherapy? So a lot of plants, there's about 300 so far, over 300 identified, but they have what's called an essential oil on them. That essential oil is a light, I'm going to go sciencey, but a light aromatic molecule. And so it's volatile. It's kind of like rubbing alcohol. And it's not necessarily an oil with a heavy lipid. So it's like alcohol is, it's very light in molecular weight. And so it lifts in the air, which is why they call it aromatic, because then it goes into, you breathe it in, you inhale it through your nose, and it goes through neural olfactory pathways and go right to the brain. So it's this aromatic molecule. It sits on over 300 plants that we've so far identified. And they basically are on the plant as a medicine. The best way I describe it is if you think about an orange. So an orange, when you open an orange, you know how you get that really strong scent of the orange, right, when you first open it? That's because you've broken the oil sacs that are on the rind. So that's pretty interesting to know that it's on the outside. So if you think about it, it's on the outside because the inside is your nutrition. So those oils are on the outside. It's medicine protecting that nutritional piece of the plant. So kind of cool for the orange. That's how it works. And so it's on there to protect it from the environment. It's on there to protect it from the pesticide, or from pests, from viruses, bacteria. It's just molds, all sorts of things that it's protecting that fruit to develop. So that's an example. So plants are organic compounds and our bodies are organic, right? And so they synthesize really well together and they have similar actions in our body. Does that help?
So interesting. Yes. And I have 50 more questions. So I'm thinking about oils and thinking about, okay, you said one goes under your tongue and some, you put in your diffuser. And I feel like you need a teacher to like walk you through like what goes in your mouth, how much is okay to go in your mouth, how long should you run it in your house? All these things. So how do you know if it should go in your mouth, in the air? Like, how do you decide how that works?
No, this is so crucial. And that's why I've kind of spent my whole career. I shifted it. So I'll go back for a second here. As a mental health practitioner, I got results for my own body. And I thought, wow, these are so cool. I'm going to use them in my office. So I started using a diffuser, like you see back here. And I used them with my clients. And I got great results. And so then I started really studying and understanding how essential oils work. And that's kind of how I started with my career of helping others know. I have a cat that wants to play with me. So what I recommend with people is, number one is you want to make sure that a couple things, let's talk about quality, because that's really how we're going to know that you'd even want to use it in the first place. I am part of this, cat group, and somebody said, "Oh my gosh, my cats got so sick. I use these plug-in diffusers," and I'm like, and they all got really sick from her using plug-in diffusers. So synthetics are going to cause an issue in your body, and obviously the cats are super sensitive, and so her cats got sick, and that's not a pure aromatic; that's a synthetic toxin. So when we look at aromatherapy, what makes it more have that medicinal quality, right? You want to make sure, number one, that it's not adulterated in any form, that there's nothing added to it. Most companies will most brands will add things to dilute it. You can even smell sometimes the alcohol carrier in there. Some of them just add oils to dilute it. And so you got to make sure it's not adulterated. That's number one. The second thing is that it's harvested correctly, and then it's grown. And I would say the third is that it's grown in an environment where it actually thrives. So I could plant lavender here at my house in Hawaii, but is it going to have the same ability to develop the medicinal benefits as lavender in the high altitudes of France and Bulgaria? Right? So it'll smell nice, but it's not going to have the same medicinal quality. So those are some of the things that go into like the purity and the benefits.
Would you say it's like finding a brand you know has the integrity and has the claims? Because I'm assuming this is not regulated by like the FDA, and you could probably claim whatever you want.
Right. No, this is good. So what I recommend people do is finding a company that allows you to see their test results on at least their single oils, right? Because if I want to look up orange, I want to know, well, what's the testing? So test results, but the other thing is that the testing's done on a third party. So, it's not, still there's some integrity there. So test results are huge. So that like when I did my dissertation, I had to look for an essential oil that I could submit with my research project, the test results. I can't just say, oh, it's bergamot and not have an ingredient list. And so I got the test results that proved it's not adulterated and it has, this amount of this chemistry or compound that actually will cause an action in the body. Does that make sense? I don't want to dive too, crazy, but.
Yeah. And for people who might not have the time to do that, I think following a trusted resource like Dr. Danielle is a great idea, right? To see the people you trust, they have integrity with the products they use. What are they using? And I really want to get into your home, right? What are some essential oils that you recommend we all have in our home? And then we can kind of get more split into health. But let's start with in our home. Dre, tell the people as fast as you can why Move with Gold Ivy is the last mind-body fitness program they'll ever have to buy, and how women are finally getting the transformation they're looking for.
I love a challenge. Let's go. 2 big things. 1, Move provides a fun atmosphere to work out in that actually gets you excited to show up and follow through with your goals. Not only is there an element of fun, but we've carefully curated a program that makes it as easy as possible for women to take care of themselves. And 2, a Move membership addresses every aspect of your health, mind and body. Our Move members are getting the physical transformation they've been hoping for and feeling like they've finally found the group that motivates them on a daily basis. What did I miss?
As a Move member, you receive a weekly workout plan, weekly live or Zoom workouts, an on-demand workout library, transformational quarterly reset challenges, monthly coaching calls, monthly masterminds with health experts, and a private group of motivated members for support and accountability.
It's ready for you when you're ready to boost your metabolism, confidence, and feel your absolute best. Join Move or learn more by clicking the link in the show notes, clicking the link in our bio on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, or by messaging us on any social channel at Gold Ivy Health Co.
It's your time. Move for your health, move for your confidence, move for your mental clarity, move with Gold Ivy.
I recommend just having your typical medicine cabinet makeover be done. Like what would you need on a daily basis that you can utilize nature for instead of some other toxic things? And so a digestive blend, right? And so, back to your question on what can go internally. So having something that is pure enough too. I wanted to answer one more thing on that. And the other part of that is generally speaking, if it's an herb that you eat, if it's pure, right? That's the number one thing. If it's pure, if it's an herb that you would eat normally, it is something that can be used internally, generally. But you would just have to, like oregano you would eat, but it's pretty spicy, so you'd have to be careful. What is it? Peppermint is something you would eat. So those things like those are lemon, you can do internally. Okay. So that's a general, but not, you want to get some training and get some help on it. That's why I just don't recommend just buying them off a shelf. You just don't know. So, okay. So back to your home. So a digestive blend, something for respiratory, just being able to breathe, something for the immune system that you can just boost every single day, or if needed, utilize a little heavily for. Another one is tea tree. I use every single day. That just as a single oil. So tea tree is something that helps with blemishes on the skin, odors. It has like so many uses. So that's an oil I utilize every single day. Let's see, peppermint. Peppermint's good for headaches. It's good for bringing blood to the area. It's good for focus and attention. So it's good for cooling you down. It's good for a fever. So I put it on the back of the neck, kind of on a daily basis. So lavender is the other one that I use pretty regularly. Good for sleep. In fact, I'll tell you a fun story. My cousin, she got started with a package of essential oils for a little medicine cabinet for her home. And she had some kids that were adopted and had been through some trauma. And one of them had struggled with disassociating in her tantrums. And so we got her a package, and one of the oils in there was coarse lavender. And she texted me one day and she said, help, my daughter's going into a fit before she goes disassociates. What do I use? And because we had talked about using them. And I said, grab lavender. So I said, put it on the back of the neck. And she puts it on, and then she texts me like 5 minutes later and she goes, is this for real? And I was like, uh-oh, what? And she said, she's just laying here calmly now. Like it helped calm her from the tantrum. So lavender is going to be excellent for sleep, calming tantrums. Anytime you get a burn yourself, great. So those are some of my, and there's more, but those are like kind of like your 5 crucial ones to have for physical, I would say, ailments. And we can talk about mental, obviously.
Yes.
I have a question about placement, because I know peppermint, like you mentioned, certain places. My boyfriend and I both put it under our nostrils. Like if we're congested, that's a great one. Lavender, like somewhere you can smell it is what I'm thinking for sleep, but you're saying back of the neck. So how do you know where to put it? Because I'm thinking if I put it somewhere, it should be so I can smell it. But maybe that's not the case.
It is great for the brain. So when you inhale it, it's going to go right to the brain, and that's an excellent source. So aromatic, that's why they're called, aromatherapy, is because they're so good at just penetrating immediately to the brain. So that's the best way to get to the brain. But there are points on your body, especially like pulse points or blood points, that will take it to the brain, take it to the heart. So the wrist. I put lavender, especially in a panic attack, I put lavender right over my heart, because your heart is what starts to pound, right? So I do right over the heart. The bottom of the feet are an excellent place to put essential oils in order to get into the entire bloodstream. It takes like 30 seconds and it's in your entire bloodstream. So at night, my routine is lavender on my feet before I go to bed. And then I just put it here so I can kind of smell it. But really, it's the feet is one of the key points. For physical stuff, I have a blend that I love for muscles and for recovery, that type of stuff. And I would put that topically where I'm needing it on the muscle.
Oh, I love all these tips so much. This is what I want. I'm like, tell me what to do. And I have 2 questions. One, I'm thinking of kids and dose, because I've had like rollers before for kids and like I have a child that has night terrors. And so I've heard like all kinds of different concoctions that you can use for oils for that. But I remember when I was putting drops on his feet before bed, it was like a warning was on it of how much to use. And so I'm curious, like, do you have to be careful on how much you're putting in your diffuser or on your body? Like, what are the adverse effects if you put too much on yourself?
Yeah, no, that's a good, so adverse effects would be if you have something spicy like cassia or cinnamon or oregano, and well, I'll just stick to spicy for a second. Those are going to irritate the skin. Okay. So that's kind of an obvious one. So I would dilute those and you would only use a little bit of a dose. If you have something like peppermint on a child's skin, it might be too tingly and too much sensation. For me, I put it right on. It's not a big deal. So those are, and then people that are older also have a little bit more sensitive. So sensitive skin, you want to be a little more sensitive. So there's number one. But the other thing is oils, when they're in their pure, non-adulterated form and concentrate, you don't need more than one drop.
Okay.
Like every 4 to 6 hours. Now in a diffuser, because it's dispersed so in such a big area, I do about like 4 to 6 drops in a diffuser, and it goes for 4 to 6 hours. So it's like 1 drop an hour.
Yeah.
What are some good scents you recommend for diffusers? Like I'm thinking maybe during the day when you want to be focused and creative, and then at night when you want to relax. What would you recommend?
Great question.
Yeah, good question. So everything that's going to affect mental health is going to be through aromatic, through the brain. Obviously, the feet have a brain point on the big toe. Excellent as well. So in the morning, citruses are really good at boosting serotonin. So before going on a workout, that's what I would recommend is do peppermint and a citrus. Those two are just like boost your mentality like crazy because they help improve focus and attention, and they also help boost mood and boost energy. So peppermint and probably like orange oil would be one of the best to start with.
And you're saying in a diffuser?
So in a diffuser, that would be excellent.
Okay.
I would also put peppermint on me to go for a run or go work out to boost and then inhale the orange.
And how long before your run does this because you said it's 30 seconds and it's in there. So like right before you go for a run? Or when you're like telling yourself, I don't want to, you put it on. It's like.
Exactly.
You're like putting your armor on, aka your essential oil.
Yeah. No, I would put peppermint on right when my alarm goes off to get myself up.
Yeah, that's a good
that's
idea.
Genius.
Yeah.
Have the diffuser ready and just push the button on it when the alarm goes off, and it'll help.
Can you do that overnight? Like put.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this is like a health hack. These are some good health hacks. My question though that I wanted to circle back to, because I feel like a lot of people grew up. You have an ache, you have a pain, you pop an Advil, you pop an ibuprofen, or you rub some type of icy hot on your body where you have aches and pains. What's your argument for why you should try an essential oil to replace that?
Yeah. Okay. One thing is prevention, right? In essential oils, they are really good at helping your body naturally manage inflammation. So versus being a major anti-inflammatory and a pain blocker, right? They're not going to be a pain blocker. It's like a sleeping pill versus lavender. A sleeping pill is just going to knock you out. And there's a purpose in that sometimes, right? But lavender is just going to calm all of the systems down, calm the mind. It's going to help your body it's the melatonin. It's not melatonin. It's going to help your body do what it needs to do. So that's the difference that I would use. So I have a blend that I use for working out. It's incredible. I can drop a link for you guys to offer this to people, but it's called Deep Blue. And it is what I use for before a workout and after a workout. And it has wintergreen. It's like a rub. It has wintergreen. It has copaiba, which comes from a tree in the Amazon of Brazil. It has, I'm trying to remember all the other peppermints in there. It's a blend of all these plants that naturally help your body with inflammation, sore muscles, injury prevention. It's just incredible. So that's what a lot of major athletes are using. In fact, I've seen, Tim Hightower, there's quite a few, Olympic athletes as well, and tennis players I've seen that are using that now.
And you're rubbing it on like things that normally get sore, or what are you? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. So like if I have bad knees, I'm rubbing it on my knees before and after the workout.
Before and after a workout. Okay. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. I went snowboarding and I didn't rub it on before. And after I went snowboarding, and I hadn't been for a while, my legs were like jello. And I was like, okay, I know I have to put this Deep Blue on me. And so I did. I put it all over my legs because I know how it feels that next day when you've overdone it on your legs, right? So the next day I woke up, I had no pain in my legs, but my arms. I didn't use my arms as much as my legs, but you do use them to push yourself up, right? Push yourself up and then they weren't sore. I didn't notice anything. And the next day they were all the lactic acid, everything set in. It was so achy. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And my legs, nothing. And that is what I worked the most. Isn't that crazy? So
yeah, I should use that after my next marathon and just experiment with it.
Before.
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking too about, you talked about gut health. We've talked a lot about gut health on this podcast. A lot of people listening just struggle with their gut health and trying to figure out what to avoid or what to have as a part of it. And I'm thinking of like ibuprofen or Advil or, those things being kind of like gut destroyers
Right.
and the adverse effects that can come from that. And I'm wondering, are there any adverse effects of having these oils, trying them for preventative or post, workouts or anything? Like, is there anything bad that can happen when you overdo it or have an oil that doesn't agree with
you? Yeah, it's harder to overdo it, but yes, it's possible. You can totally eat too much of a good thing and vomit, And so absolutely, it would take a lot. Now, if someone has a sensitive stomach, there might be other issues. So, however, it's when you use this, kind of back to your original question, 1 to 2 drops for an adult every 4 to 6 hours is plenty, because if you have concentrate, right? If you were to use more, what they've seen in research is that it just is less effective. It's almost like a vitamin. It's like, well, I really want a whole bunch of this. And it's like, great, but you take too much, you're just going to eliminate it. Your body's not going to utilize it. And so it's a waste.
Yeah. I think something too, just speaking on my experience of aromatherapy, is it forces me to slow down and to turn inward, right? And our gut and our brain are so connected that when our stress level is high, chances are we're going to have some gut health symptoms with that. So the slowing down, the being intentional about, okay, how can I prevent this? Maybe the lavender, I'm getting better sleep, right? It is thinking about prevention, but also I just want to call out how interconnected everything is within the body. So if you're taking the time to put the diffuser on, it's like you're romanticizing your routine and saying that, hey, I care enough about myself to think, how can I think this through versus just popping the Advil.
Yeah. I love that idea.
For sure. And there are a group of, what do you call them? Supplements with essential oil supplements that I take that do act similar to help when I'm having like body pain.
Yeah.
I use the topical and I use some that are internal, and it works great. And there are times when I will say when I have sciatica that not a lot does help, except for maybe something that just blocks the pain in my brain.
Yeah. I think that can be tricky, just thinking about my experience with gut health. Have you worked with a trained professional, or just through your own research, okay, this is a good topical cream to use for my stomach, I'm going to rub it on my stomach, or I'm going to ingest it? Or has it been kind of trial and error for you? How has that worked?
With essential oils, you mean? Yeah. So I've done a lot of training with it, and because the gut is the second brain. Like, it's huge. It's your neurotransmitters. Over 95% of your serotonin is housed in the gut. And going back to the beginning where I was talking about my gut health, what was majorly wrong that couldn't be diagnosed medically in any terms was I had an overgrowth of inflammation lining my gut wall. And when you have an overgrowth of inflammation lining your gut wall, it blocks any nutrients. So that's why I would eat, and then I could hardly sustain mentally. I'd get lethargic and brain fog and 40% of your nutrients are used by your brain. And so I wasn't getting those nutrients. It was so full of inflammation. So I did some natural anti-inflammatory plant, aromatherapy type stuff internally as well, and topically. And that's what helped long-term for me to clear that up. So yeah, gut is key in your physical health and your mental health, everything.
What resources would you recommend people go to? Do you have any specific on gut health? I'm just thinking of the people listening, myself included, that are like, okay, I want to take the next step. I want to learn more. What would be a good starting point for me?
Yeah, that's great. So I have a pain, what's it called? An ebook. I was like, what is that thing? Like a pain ebook, and I have a gut health ebook that I think particularly would be helpful. And it's kind of some basics and on that sense. And then I have some advanced training after that. So I could start out with at least the gut health ebook and the pain management ebook.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so we've got gut, we've got pain. What about mental health? Like thinking about anxiety or depression or fatigue, just needing, that motivation, that kick. What do you recommend for that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a mental health ebook as well. So
let's go with the ebooks, baby.
But as far as like, I love to talk the brain and mental health and the oils. And so I'll kind of dive into that a little bit. But there are 5 oils that I would recommend for brain health and just to have on general. A couple of them I've already said, but one would be a citrus. Okay, citruses are those uppities. Another one would be peppermint essential oil, because that's going to be the focus and attention. Another one would be lavender, like I said. Okay, so you have this repertoire of things that you can pull on to help you. The other couple that I really love that are blends, and they're blends from a company that I trust in their quality. I can see their reporting. I can see their testing that they've done, which is great, or they've had done at a third party. And the blend is called Adaptive. So it's a blend of different essential oils that help with, I would basically describe it as anxiety, stress, and depression all. And if you look at in mental health in general, stress is the gateway to other mental health concerns. And it is with physical too. So that is called Adaptive. And my ebook is particularly talks more about Adaptive as the blend. There's capsules and then there's essential oil. It's phenomenal for just any moment you're like, I'm feeling like a little anxious or overwhelmed, you just put that on. And then lastly, but not least, is bergamot. So bergamot is a citrus, and that is what I ended up doing my dissertation on with PTSD. And we had great results. What we noticed is because bergamot is like this mixture of chemistry from a citrus and a lavender into one bottle. I mean, it's its own plant, but it has chemistry similar to lavenders and citruses. So it was really balancing for those with PTSD, because when you look at trauma symptoms, they're all over the board. And this was really helpful in balancing the depression. It was helpful in balancing the reoccurring thoughts that they would have, help them with sleep because of that lavender-like component in it called linalool. And it was just overall, my participants in the research project said that it helped them to get out of their head and to feel like lighter and better and feel more calm. So calm was the biggest word that they said. It helped them just feel calm. One gal had a court date and had to address what was her PTSD was about. But you had to address the crime issue that had happened. And she said that she had used the bergamot as we instructed, and that she got to the courthouse and she was calm. She goes, I never had expected that I would be calm on that day. So it's like going to be the worst trigger ever. And she felt calm. So bergamot would be the fifth.
Bergamot. Let's go, bergamot.
This is so great. I love it because I feel like it's when you're struggling with your gut health and you have the brain fog and the fatigue and all of this, it's so overwhelming to think about doing something because you're exhausted. Or when you've had you have PTSD or depression or anxiety and you're trying to think about how to get better in your head, like it's overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And so to have something that takes care of both, that you literally just plug into your diffuser, or you follow someone that gives you the tips on how to actually do this, where you just have it like put a little bit on your wrist or your neck, like to know that can be the thing you do where you don't have to rely on a counselor to help you out at first. Like I feel like this is a way to ease into helping your symptoms without having to do a ton of work, you know?
Yeah. And in your ebooks, do you walk people through like where to put the specific essential oils and if you're looking for...
Somewhat. The ebook is about a lot of things like gut health, for example, pain. It's about a lot of different things that contribute. It's not just aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is in there. And then, yes, there is guidance on the aromatherapy. Okay. And and once people get their order in hands, and I do more instruction with them once they have it, for personalization issues. But I will kind of go back to what you were talking about with when we're in those moments of stress or pain or whatever it is, right? When in doubt, I use the aromatherapy on my bottom of my feet. And it's just like this nice moment of self-care at the same time. It's not normal, I would say, that we rub our feet ourselves. It's like only if there's pain, we're like, rub it. But it has become this like just beautiful self-care thing, and it feels amazing. But the oil, that's where it gets in. And I do this with my nieces and they love it. And so every night when I'm visiting my nieces, they're like, can we put the oil on again? And I'm like, okay, yeah. And so we just rub their feet and they just, it's this TLC that you can do for somebody and for yourself. And it helps give us just a moment to relax. So that's an easy, but when you're out and about, I have you just put a drop in your hand and inhale it. Those are just your two like go-to ways to apply them. So I don't want people to feel like, oh, it's so hard. There are a lot of areas, but inhale it in your hands, bottom of your feet. Easy and easy peasy to do.
I love that. As I do feel like we could talk for hours. We just scratched the surface. So to know that you have an ebook that people can follow you is so just exciting that our audience now can tap into your work. So will you share where everyone can find you, your offerings, a little bit more about how people can get even more of you?
Yeah, for sure. I would say the best place probably Instagram at Dr. Danielle Saidi. I'm sure you'll put the link in there. And that's where my ebooks are housed and also where I post information. Most of my information is really focused on mental health. I just did a post on, serotonin, essential oils that help serotonin from the research that I found. So that's what you'll find on my page.
Yes, it's very tangible. It's very graspable. And I think this is why we want to have you on, just to have you talk through this is getting you back to nature. It is the basics. It's really easy ways to take care of yourself. And I love what you said. It's almost like having this new ritual in order to feel good using nature. Like, how beautiful is that? I'm so happy the way that you post so that we can all grasp the knowledge that you have. I mean, you've done so much research and you're a speaker and you have a magazine and an app. You have so many things going on. And I think sometimes when you're as brilliant as you are, it's hard to understand what the person's saying. And I feel like you break it down so that we can understand and then bring it into our home so we can feel better. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. And I'm so happy that you're here to give us all these tips, but we have more. We have Unleashing Ivy. These are 3 surprise questions that you don't know about that Brooke and I are just curious about that we're going to ask you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if you could only choose one essential oil to use the rest of your life, what would you choose and why?
Is this like choosing a favorite kid or cat?
Okay. If I was for a cat, that's funny. If I was stranded on an island, I've thought of it because we ask this sometimes. It's a funny question. That'd be hard. I guess I would say, yeah, I'd say tea tree.
Tea
And the
tree.
reason being is because if I'm stranded on an island, I'm thinking, okay, infections, bug bites, things like that. I wish I could add lavender on that. Tea tree and lavender.
Okay,
if they were one.
Okay. All right. My question is about the holistic brain. So this is an app, a magazine, a blog. How would you describe why you started this and kind of what your mission is with it?
Oh, that's a good question. So I started, so when I started doing research, I wanted to put it into tangible forms for people. And so I created some handouts and things like that. But I also wanted it to be available, because I'd have a lot of people, do you have a digital form? And I'm like, no, I don't. It's kind of back in the more digital day. So I created it into an app so that people could have things at their fingertips. And I try to put it down to tangible. I've got an introduction. I've got a VIP group that also has access to advanced course work and research on aromatic science. And I started the magazine honestly because I love collaborating with other professionals and hearing from them and doing interviews with them as well. And so I love to have more than what I offer is incredible. And everybody else has so many different techniques and skills and their own signature of their life. And I love to highlight that. Yeah. So that's what the app is all about.
That's awesome. I mean, it's everything all in one. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. There's wellness protocols inside of there. I had to break down how I totally forgot about that. Wellness protocols that you can follow inside of the app for mental health.
Amazing. Oh, so exciting. Okay. Last question. If you could go back and tell younger Danielle one thing, what would you tell her? What age would you choose?
Well, it's like the most personal thing is coming up and I'm like trying to find something else and I'm like, I can't. So I guess we'll go into that. So sharing on a real personal note, I was sexually abused as a child from age 5 to 11. So I'm not trying to open a can of worms before we end here. But when you said that, that just came to me. And I would tell her that it's okay that she's going through this. and that you're going to be stronger because of it. And you're going to be an incredible teacher and inspiration for others because of this. And to, just to give a reassurance that it's okay, that this experience, though it's not fun, is okay.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. And it just shows like the work you're doing is helping the people that were you at one point with PTSD and any mental health challenges that can come from that, which some people never even realize how it's manifesting in their life. And so I'm so grateful that you're doing the work you're doing to help that little girl or boy, that now are adults walking around and trying to take care of their ailments that came from it. So that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing, like Brooke said.
Yeah. And we love tangible tips, right? You mentioned it a million times. We're right there with you when it comes to wellness. So we like to leave our listeners with what we call 3 gold stars, 3 tangible takeaways. If you had to sum up everything you said, or maybe everything you know about aromatherapy for a newbie, what top 3 takeaways would you like to leave?
I would say number 1 would be get started and just put the essential oil that you want to utilize where it would be best for you. So I have my lavender in my nightstand. I don't want to go to bed and go, oh, it's over in my oil box, So get started with the oils and just put them where you will best utilize each one of them. That would be tip number 1. And then I have 3 tips. You said, right? Okay. Number 2, I would say don't be nervous about doing it wrong. It's a pretty easy thing to get started with. And that with that, I would say the third thing I would say is your body knows. So when you are smelling the different essential oils, whatever you are drawn to, trust that that's what you need. Like I may know a lot of science about, norepinephrine and essential oils, all that. That doesn't trump where your body is drawn to. And if I can share one little story on that, it might kind of help explain this a little bit better. I went to an equestrian. I was working with some kids with autism. We went to an equestrian to introduce essential oils to the horses. And I had an oil out, and it's called Balance. And I was putting it out there, and the horse could care less about it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the equestrian, the person at the equestrian, she said, oh, that horse likes a breathe oil because it has respiratory. And I was like, what? And so I opened, the bottle of this breathe oil for respiratory, and that horse would not leave my hand ever.
Wow.
I mean, I was just like the whole day, like holding this bottle for it. It was just following with its nose, the oil. So your body really knows what it needs. If it's a smell that's resonating with you, use it. Keep it in your purse. Just use it. So trust your body.
That's
I love that so much.
All right. And our very last segment is your piece of gold, a quote that speaks to you.
I have so many. I'm like trying to think of one really quick. So all healing is a release from the past.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. We want to thank you and encourage you to celebrate yourself for taking the time to learn and get inspired in your one beautiful life. And if this podcast means something to you, it would mean so much to us if you'd be willing to take 30 seconds to help support our mission to keep bringing you inspiring stories and guests.
First, following the podcast is important because it helps you never miss an episode. To do this, just go to the Ivy Unleashed podcast show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow.
While you're there, if you'd be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review and share your favorite episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful for your support.
We are thrilled you're here and are so happy that you're taking time to prioritize your wellness, self-discovery, and growth with us.